whatever you just moved almost sounded like Jeff Hodag, and I was like, what?
I don't even have the voice mod on this computer right now. I need to figure out how to do that. But yes, hello. We're here with our special new, maybe we do this ever again thing, who knows, wrap-up episode for Exalted versus World of Darkness, Friendly Neighborhood Exalts. I don't know how many episodes that we're actually going to get out of this. I want to say 35 plus wrap-up, but who knows? So Brendan, the forever GM and everything, except for when Christina or someone else runs. But yes, I am here with Britt to discuss how that she felt about Friendly Neighborhood Exalts and how that game went, and some other questions. So hello, Britt.
Maybe questions. Hello.
Maybe questions. So I have a question for you that we did not discuss prior to me hitting the record button.
Okay.
If you don't mind sharing with the class, how did you get into role-playing?
Oh, man. That's a long time ago. Back in my day. I actually started role-playing with a group of friends from high school who I had lost touch with for most of high school. And then after graduation, we kind of got back into touch, started talking again. It was like Paul and some of his friends. Like he introduced me to some of his friends, him and Sam. And actually how I met like some of the other people that have been mentioned on here, like Joe and the other group. And I started playing Pathfinder with them. It took them forever to convince me, because at that time I was very much like, ew, role playing, like that's so weird. And then like I kind of stepped away from that view on things because I started hanging out with like better people. And yeah, so we started tabletopping at a place in a local place that had like comics and gaming and stuff, and they had like another area with tables that they would hold like card tournaments and stuff for like Magic and everything like that. And then some nights they would offer this space for us to role play. And that's where I got into like Pathfinder. I think I never even hit D&D until Christina, really. It was mostly just Pathfinder. I didn't know any of the other systems until hanging out with you guys, actually.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah, that's pretty. I didn't know that you hadn't played in like other stuff until that we came along.
Yeah, it was literally just Pathfinder, and like Joe made a How to Train Your Dragon campaign that was it was Pathfinder, but he kind of like tweaked it a little bit to help us out. And then they finally convinced me to LARP, so I LARPed in the first LARP I went to, which was Avalon. And then when we went to when I started hanging out with you guys, that's when I started doing all the other tabletops. So that's how new it is to me. Every time you guys are like, "Oh, let's play this," I'm like, I don't know, because I've only ever known Pathfinder, so everything's been really hard to like adjust to from what I already know.
That actually makes a little bit more sense, that about how that it's a little bit harder for you to adjust to this, whereas like games like Exalted and World of Darkness were actual, like I played. God, this is going to just show how old that I am. I played Advanced Dungeons and Dragons when I was like 9 or 10 with my dad, but I had no idea how this game actually worked. But like like my first real tabletop role-playing experience was like playing World of Darkness. So like rolling D10s and like doing the Exalted and the World of Darkness stuff I've been doing for almost like 20 years now. So like it's super people not like, I look at these systems and go, wait, how do you not understand? It's super simple. But like to me like World of Darkness is like the baseline.
Yeah, see, I didn't start really doing any of my nerdy stuff until probably after I got out of high school. So that was about 10 years ago. Oh my god. That was about 10 years ago for me. Um, when I finally started, like, hanging out with these nerds and, like, learning about these types of games. Like, I knew of D&D. I knew what D&D was. but that was it. Like, I knew what it was. I knew what LARPing was, but I didn't, like, understand it. I never played it. I never participated in it. And then someone's like, "Oh, well, we have this Pathfinder game. It's just like D&D, but it's this." And I'm like, "Okay." So that's the first system I jumped into, and I played that for years with different the same group, different games that changed multiple times. So I've played in multiple like, I've had multiple characters that I've played, so I kind of learned what characters can do what. Like, I still can't build characters very well, and I think a lot of it has to do with, like, confidence of just, like, "Am I doing this right?" But I can build them better than in, like, the newer systems where it's like, "Alright, if I'm playing an Asmar, however you pronounce it, this is the list I have to choose from, and this is the areas I have to go down, and this is the tree I have to follow, and I can pick and choose from there." When, you introduced me to, like, Werewolf and even the Exalted Godbound game, that was the first game we played together, and I you were like, "You can do whatever you want," and I'm like, "I don't know what that means."
Yeah. It's definitely a there's definitely a switching gears thing, especially after you're coming from like D&D and you're like, yeah, I've got these, or Pathfinder, I guess. Yeah, I level up my class, or hey, maybe I want something from this class, so I'm going to dip into here, or hey, I want this feat, but like there's no like, well, maybe I,
Variation from it.
yeah, like maybe like you don't want to do like, well, do I need to level up my bureaucracy because I want to be better at tax evasion,
Dude, the Godbound Exalted the character sheet you first gave me, which I believe was the Godbound one, so this is my first introduction to anything not Pathfinder. Um, I looked at that thing, and it was so intimidating because, first of all, it was, landscape instead of portrait, like a regular character sheet that I was used to.
Yeah.
So it was like, "Okay, that's weird," and then, like, I read it, I was like, "Oh, name, cool, that's easy," and then it was like, "Alright, what's this?" I'm like, "I what? What words do you want? What do you mean, what words do I want? What's a word? What does a word do?" And that it took me a while to get into it, but I think because I played Nyx, if anyone else has listened to the, Let the Good Dice Roll, it took me a while to get into her character, and I still feel like I had a lot of work on her because that was my first not Pathfinder system, my first system out of my norm. So it took me a lot of getting used to, plus the group that you guys drug me into, I didn't really hang out with you guys a whole lot before then. So, like, it was a new system, it was new people, like, I knew about you guys, and I've hung out with you guys here and there, but, like, I wasn't that close to you guys, and you guys were like, "Hey, join us." I was
Join
like,
us.
"Sure."
And now we hang out like twice to three times a week because we all just have the same friend group and we're all just looking for social
Nah.
contact. Yeah.
And now I got a key to your apartment, like, what is this world?
Right.
It's crazy to think about that though, like, I didn't even know you guys that well, like, Maury or, Tony or like, it was really just Christina that I knew,
Mhm.
and she was the one that was like, "Hey, we should take her in."
Yeah, and like Christina got kind of like I don't want to say that she got kind of like added into the group like to, which is such a weird thing to think about with how like integral to like every freaking game that we have put out that she has been. But like I first started running with the original version of the Exalted group, like I don't want to say that Christina was like an afterthought, but it was like I had originally started running Exalted to run for Joe and Devin because they were my friends, they were my boys. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna show them that I can do the cool GM thing, and then like lo and behold, like Christina ended up being like the only person from like that old group that kind of like came along and has like stuck along with us for like this whole thing over the last like shit, I want to say like 5 years of this gaming group being around.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a hot minute, and I know,
Yeah.
like, it's also weird to think, like, I was really close with Joe and Devin before I knew you. I always heard, "Brendan this, Brendan that," and I was like, "I don't know who this is. Who the fuck are you talking about? Never met you. Didn't know what you looked like or anything until you showed up to that Avalon event as Bandini." And I was like, "Is this the guy you guys have been talking about? Like, I'm putting a face to a name now. Like, I had no idea who you were
Mm-hmm.
for the long time, and I hung out with the people that you were like, 'These are my boys.' Like, they were so close to you, and I was close to them and didn't even know who you were."
Yeah, it's so weird to like think back on that. But anyway, we are getting super off topic now. Um,
Yeah.
just going into the maybe in like 2 or 3 years we can do the character origin stories for all of us once it
Oh, man.
once we've
That's
had a
gonna
couple
be a
more games out and we've got a little bit more of a following. So anyway, so we're actually so we're as that I think that I mentioned at the beginning, we're talking about World of Darkness. So, well, Exalted First
mhm.
World of Darkness. So, how was your experience with the system? Because I have opinions.
You have opinions. It was an interesting system. I know I originally wasn't planning to play, so I didn't really look into the books a whole lot. I didn't look into anything. So when you asked me to join, I didn't know anything about it, and that was kind of on my part, but it was definitely easier to kind of understand when because I played a solar before, and I've played in World of Darkness before. But it was also hard because it definitely was its own system, like, it felt like it was its own system at least. So it took a lot for me to be like, "Oh shit, I need to remember a lot." So, yeah, because like, when you asked me to join, I didn't read any of the books, I didn't know anything about it. I played Werewolf, and I've played your Godbound system, but this system kind of felt like it was its own system. Like, it was completely new. I had so many more things to remember, and I was still learning the system, so it felt a lot harder than it should have been. And now that I'm looking back on it, it definitely felt a lot harder than it actually was. Now that I know everything, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I understand this now." Whereas back then, it was like, "This is a Rubik's Cube with too many sides."
Yeah, I can totally get that. Well, the nice thing is that those I think that there's like two books for Exalted First World Darkness. Like it is completely a fan project that got made by one of the guys who was really big into Exalted. I think he actually did some work on third edition, which is kind of neat. But he made it as a fan project to basically be like because there since Exalted came out back in 2001, there were always those people who were like, "Yo, what would happen if Exalted came to the world of darkness?" Because you're playing actual Exalted now with us. Spoilers are like ahead, like a couple uh, months when we start releasing that game. But like, you see how that like the dice pools in this are just like normal, like gigantic
Yeah.
compared to like when you played mage with me and the dice pools were like if you rolled a 10, if you were rolling 10 dice, you were like the best.
Right?
So anyway, so brain's kind of doing that thing where I just kind of ping pong when I'm trying to tell a story. So anyway, so that guy who wrote all the Exalted First World Darkness stuff, he actually made it as kind of a like, hey, we're going to have the Exalted show up and deal with all the meta plot bullcrap of the World of Darkness and basically just tear a fucking hole in it. Because like you see how powerful that you guys were at Endgame. Like you guys went up against something that like nobody really goes up against. Like me throwing those stats at you, like in any other game, is just like you're dead. But in this game,
Yeah, those stats were scary.
you guys were just like, like you were having a little bit of trouble, but like I think that kind of came down to like maybe not like kind of the evolution of the game. I felt like the game kind of turned from one thing into another very rapidly, and with not enough time for you guys to get the XP to be in the other category.
Yeah, yeah. That is a feeling I had when we started. fast forwarding things. It definitely didn't feel like I personally had enough time with the system to be ready for a big fight like that. But I didn't die, and that's important.
Right. You didn't die.
I, out of character, didn't die.
Yeah, like that's another thing that kind of got me is that I kind of jumped the shark. Do you feel that way?
A little bit.
Yeah, when we did the heist episode, I think I might have jumped the shark a little bit.
Like the heist, I loved the heist. And I think the heist was at a good point. But everything after the heist seemed a bit rushed. Because it was like, all right, you did the heist. Now you got to prepare for this big fight right now. Let's go.
You did the heist. Well, now you're going to go and do this thing. Well, now you've activated this other thing that activates this other thing that starts this other plot that like and like the weird thing is that like I didn't plan for it to get that out of hand, but also like because we were running on like such like a time crunch with like game times and only at like I definitely feel like that once that we started running every week, I actually gave you guys time to breathe a little bit more and like actually develop a little bit more.
Hmm.
Like we you can definitely hear it in like the recording. Like there's more breathing room. You and Christina get a lot more time together to just like figure out your characters and actually like plan like and Cody and Tyler actually get time to just kind of like not be attacking things for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But I definitely do feel that there's like this okay, we did the heist and now I have to rush to the next plot point when instead like really what I should have done is I should have just been like nah, just let them do what they want to do. Like I because like I felt like that I kind of like after a point kind of missed the point of my own game in my need to start one upping myself because I feel like that if I don't do something better than what we last did, I feel like people lose interest, which I know isn't true, but my
But
brain
you could have done like little side things like that led up to the big thing. Like, oh, you just did this thing, and you could have thrown in some cool foreshadowing that could also keep the hook on those listeners or the people like just following along, and your players. Because you're gonna do this thing, and you know at the end of the movies, like even the Marvel movies, where they give you that little scene after the credits that shows something that's gonna happen, and you're like, wait a minute, what's that? Throwing stuff in like that, you could have, even with the new game that we're playing now, um, that would definitely help spread things out as well, can give us other things to, like, develop our characters with.
hmm I feel like that I'm giving you guys room to breathe in the current game. At least I hope
Oh,
that I
yeah.
am.
Oh, yeah. I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with where I'm at with my character, like, how I'm developing her with the couple sessions that we've already done. Um, definitely feels I feel like I'm able to get into this character's mindset a little bit easier than I was for Marcy for a good chunk of that game. Because you got to remember also, like I and Marcy were kind of thrown into a game that was already started too. So I was like, well, I don't know what's going on at this point either. So I had to like fumble with the new system, fumble with this new story that I'm kind of thrown in the middle of, and I have to play catch up now. And listening to the podcast beforehand definitely helped a lot, though.
Oh man. Okay. Were there any story beats that I guess since we're kind of talking about that right now, were there any story beats that I guess that we kind of dropped that you were interested in, or like things that you would have liked to have seen?
Well, other than the big one that we talked about earlier, which was the first beast stuff, I actually would have been interested to see more of like Cass's family and like some shenanigans that happened with her family since we did a big thing with like Lenny's family and like um Liv's family. They played big roles in this. It would have been interesting to see like Cass's side of things or even maybe Marcy's side of things, something that like other than the elevator thing, because like I think that elevator scene was the only, like, peer into Marcy's life that wasn't her uncle. So, like, you didn't really
Yeah.
get much backstory on her, and then with Cass, you got, like she's got these crazy ass parents, but, like, you don't get any information or peer into, like, Cass's life, like, what she was like beforehand or even, like, what she does outside of fighting bad guys and throwing a couple dice here and there. Lenny's family, we got a lot of, like, "Oh, yeah, when I was growing up this way, and, like, we did this when we were younger," and, like, stuff like that, and then, like, with Liv's family, meeting his parents who were just so normal but not normal, you can get a feel of how his life was. So, I definitely feel like we missed at least half of the party's, like, character development in general, like, backstory development.
Now that you've kind of pointed that out, I do regret missing that opportunity because that's something like I enjoyed having all of those characters. I enjoyed way more than I will ever like to admit having to do your parents' snooty voices.
That was so weird, and I think the going back to this, like, topic, not having those things also made it really hard to, like, role play. This is gonna be played after the final episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it made it really hard to role play that scene where you had Marcy and Demon Dylan sitting at the end of the pier, having, like, a heart to heart. It made it really hard to role play that because, like, I only met out of character, met this guy when he drug me, like, popped out of the sewer and, like, drug me down an alley. So I didn't really have much backstory, and, like, we didn't really talk about Marcy's relationship with her uncle other than that, like, that's her favorite uncle, she looks up to him, and that's where she got her arsenal. So, like, that RP of that scene that was supposed to be very, like, heartfelt, I had no fucking clue what to say. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know how to act. And
Hmm.
I now that I've listened to that episode again, because I listened to the podcast over again, I like to relive those moments. I regret the way I role played that specific part a little bit because I now that I know how I feel about the situation and how everything what happened, I could easily role play that part differently. Having that backstory or that other connections with Dylan Bartello.
Yeah, yeah, I totally feel that. I do feel like that I had a way more missed opportunities than I would like to admit. I really went hard on Cody's family because Cody just kept like hitting me up with like information and like had also like gone through the book and went, "Oh, I'm going to be Van Zant because that's a funny Leonard Skinner reference." And then I was like, "Oh, I have to actually read up about this fake ass family and like figure out what to do."
But, you
Okay.
know, that was great, though. Like, I'm not saying that I'm upset about everything that happened because I loved it all. I loved everything that we did with the Van Zants and the Johnsons, I think is their
Joneses, I
name?
believe.
Joneses. Joneses. It's Joneses. I have a friend named Christopher Jones. I should remember that because that's Liv's dad's name. But I loved every bit of it. It was awesome and it was a lot of fun, and you did the families really well. Like, I definitely felt like I got their families' personalities really well.
Yeah, well, that's just something to, I guess, keep in mind for the next games we do. I think that I'm getting a little bit better about where that people's limits are for because like some of this has always been just kind of like me being like, I don't know where that I want to like push the envelope, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that I'm getting a better handle on the group and like it's it's. I think that the game that we're running right now, the two games that we're running right now are coming out really well. Like I enjoyed uh I enjoyed Friendly Neighborhood Exalts, and like yeah, if I could go back and like fix it up, I totally would. Like make it a little bit more like down to earth and like more superhero-y, if that makes sense.
More to fit the theme of the title.
Yeah, yeah, way more to fit the theme of the title. But like I gotta tell you, the power of friendship and this gun that I found and like a dragon blooded are just like I'm loving it. Like I feel
Dude,
like that I am not missing opportunities on either of them.
I am enjoying the power of friendship and this gun I found way more than I originally thought I would. And I'm gonna admit there was one session that I wasn't really feeling it, but I also was having like a really rough time out of character with a lot going on, and I just wasn't feeling it. But I played the game anyways because I knew playing the game with you guys would help, and it did. And that game, I can't wait for people to listen to. I can't wait to listen to it again because I'm enjoying that game so much. And then with like a Dragon Blooded, I'm starting to get more comfortable with like making choices in game. So like I'm really excited to see where this game goes too, and I'm excited to see all the plots you bring.
Oh, this game is so weird because like again, like peek behind the curtain, but like as you know, Britt, I have based this off of Yakuza,
Yeah,
thus the name. So like
yeah,
we'll get serious plot happening and like people dying in the streets, but then also Britt and Tyler have to help a man with a pompadour learn how to be a punk.
yeah. That was I was not ready for that, and I should have been. I should have been, but I was not. But
I can't
going
wait.
back to the original question.
I can't wait until you guys get to the mini car the mini golf tournament arc.
Oh no. Oh no.
I
I
just strung words together. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Maybe I'll have to do it now. Maybe I'll put that in
I was
fellowship. That
expecting
might
like
fit in
little race
fellowship.
cars. I was expecting like the little race cars, like having like some back alley like little race cars thing where you build your cars that you've done in Yakuza.
Yeah, maybe.
I was not expecting mini golf to come out of your mouth.
I just started talking.
So before we forget our topic, because I'm trying to remember it myself, otherwise I'll forget. Plots that were missed or dropped.
The only one, so like it wasn't so much missed as like I feel like that looking back on it and listening back to it, like, and I want to get your opinion on it. When you guys dealt with the vampires, could you all tell that there was like an entire like 10 session plot behind that?
What time dealing with the vampires? Was it the
Uh,
Giovannis that we like murdered, or when we were
no,
talking on the New Year's party?
when you guys were at the New Year's party.
I definitely felt like there was some more shit that was going on behind the curtains with that. Cause like it was way too put together for just we need to talk to these people to get them to come with us. There was so much going on there that I kind of wanted to know more, even if it was out of character and just talking to you about it. Like it made me want to know more about what was going on with them and
Yeah,
how they fit into the world here.
did you notice that there was something from that actually got brought up. It's something from I think like the first episode that you're in when you hear someone talking to someone. Did you notice that you actually met that character at the vampire party?
No.
So the guy, the detective,
Yeah.
who is looking for Lenny to figure out what the hell that he did and like why that he's fucking with shit.
Yeah.
That detective is the ghoul of the vampire sheriff.
No
That's
shit.
that's why he's on the phone, and you specifically hear him say, "Don't worry, Mister Duggins, I'll take care of it."
Oh my goodness. I can't believe I missed that.
Yeah, the fucking cowboy sheriff. Yeah, that's the dude who that like the cop that you met before you exalted is on the phone with.
Oh shit. That's a cool little Easter egg.
Yeah, because after the Giovanni stuff, I was originally planning on it just being like, you guys just fucking up with vampires, and then maybe werewolves show up at some point, and then again, everything just kind of got out of hand.
Yeah, but you know, it was fun. I don't regret the game. I don't regret like the plots that we missed. Like it would have been nice to have a couple extra things because I was enjoying that game a lot and like the friendships I was making and the RP and stuff, but at the same time, like I had a lot of fun with the game. A lot of
Good.
fun.
I'm glad. I cannot wait. So I really enjoyed doing this. So I'm probably going to piece together this with stuff with the other three players. But thank you for giving me some time of your evening, Britt. I really appreciate it. I'm going to stop the recording. Well, actually, is there anything that you'd like to leave people with before I cut us off?
The only thing I feel like I should say, or I want to say, is just, keep listening to us, guys, and like, you can definitely hit us up. I want to talk about this with people. I really do. Like, hit us up on the Facebook page or Twitter. Um, you can probably find me liking all the stuff on Facebook and Twitter as well, and I don't mind answering questions either. Like, you post it on the Facebook page. I'll comment. I want to talk about it. I don't get enough people to talk about this with. I get you guys. I get the group.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't have enough other people to talk about it. I've been trying, like, my one coworker, I no longer work with him because I'm at a different store now. But like, I need to talk about it. There's so much going on. I need to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, if people want to send questions to us, that we would be happy to put out a questions and answers episode, they can send that to a pair of dice lost at gmail.com. Once I've got a few, I'd be happy to get the crew on to answer some questions.
Oh, that would be so much fun. I feel like one question would take forever though, with all of us answering it and rambling on and on. That'd get us a couple episodes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, I'd probably just put it out as one big one because I don't have to put any music to this.
That's true.
Thank you for coming on, Brett. And I can't wait for people to see what that you're doing in Fellowship and Like a Dragon Blooded.
Man, I can't wait either. I'm excited for you guys.
All right then, guys. Welcome to our experiment in doing a debrief, getting everyone's opinion on the end of a campaign. I thought it was a pretty neat idea that some other podcasts had done, and I wanted to kind of get everyone's opinion like put to audio.
Didn't I mention it to you also?
You probably did, yeah.
It's like a director's commentary.
Actually, yeah, no, I distinctly recall you mentioning it to me because Critical Role does something like this, I think.
They do. They have kind of a long session with everybody on the cast together, and people send in questions, and they ask questions of kind of each other and whatnot. But I know other people outside of that do kind of something along this lines too. And it was kind of one of those situations of I feel like there were some things that didn't get addressed in the campaign and some things that maybe people wanted to discuss because it was our first time running it, especially.
Yeah, and I know that at least for Tyler and Cody, it was actually y'all's not only first introduction to Exalted, but also to World of Darkness.
Yeah, well, my first time actually playing World of Darkness. I've read that rule book like 3 times before I actually played that.
So I'm going to start off with you two with the same question that I kind of asked Britt when that I did her interview. I think that we have probably talked with Christina about this before, but Cody, how did you get into role playing and tabletop stuff?
Oh boy, that would be. I actually got into tabletop backwards from how most people do it. I actually started LARPing first, and because when I was in college, one of my classmates introduced me to Avalon, and then I started playing that, and then through Avalon I met people and started doing tabletop RP and all that good stuff. So I get to be ass backwards from everybody else.
That you do, bud. That you do. That is actually really neat that's how that you got in. Like normally everybody goes like, aha, it's D&D, and then it's that meme of, yeah, but who's that guy behind you? Don't pay attention to me. Notice me, brother. With the dude with the LARP on it.
Overpriced sword fights into paying too much for dice.
To be fair, that meme is pretty good.
So, Christina, I'm sure that we had asked about it at some point on when we did Let the Good Dice Roll, but just real quick, how did you get into tabletop?
I started tabletopping when I was 18. Neither one of my parents are very nerdy, and just kind of started playing with friends. Very, very simple. I actually played a little bit more in college and then way more outside of college, actually.
And had you guys had much experience with anything else besides like D&D before, I guess, coming to hang out and play with me and do my games?
Let's see. It was, I don't remember which edition of D&D it was, but like D&D and Pathfinder were the big ones that I played when I was younger, like scattered here and there. So outside of those two, like when you're talking about like Fellowship and Exalted versus World of Darkness and everything outside of literally those two quote unquote core ones that everybody kind of knows about, I hadn't heard of any of the other ones.
Yeah, I went from pretty much just straight playing Pathfinder into getting sucked into Warhammer by our local lovely plastic crack dealers. And then after playing Warhammer for a little bit, when the pandemic opened up my schedule, that's when we started playing Exalted versus World of Darkness, I think. I think there might have been like a couple one-shots between, but yeah, pretty much up until the pandemic, it was all Pathfinder, and then branching out into other systems now.
That is, it still blows my mind that that's how that this stuff went down, because when I talked to Britt, it also was the same thing, where that she had only ever played Pathfinder until literally the game that she started playing with my group.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pathfinder is just one of those. It's one of the more easily accessible ones. Like you walk into Barnes and Noble and you got Pathfinder or you got D&D. Take your pick. The rest of them, yeah, you got to actually find a game store and go through and actually look at books and decide whether or not you like it. Whereas these ones, it's in your face advertising, just right there.
Yeah, I definitely think it has a lot to do with the availability of content, with Pathfinder and D&D being more well known, I suppose. And like I've mentioned Exalted to people before, and they're like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh boy!" And I would give them like a summation. They'd be like, "Wow, that sounds really cool. I've never heard of that before you mentioned it." I was like, "I know."
I know, it's just so. I wish that more people have heard of my favorite game. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying that enjoyed our adventures in Exalted versus World of Darkness, and are enjoying our adventures in Chiaroscuro with Like a Dragon Blooded.
Yeah, no, I can't think of a system that I enjoy better than the Exalted system. Like maybe the some of the way Warhammer plays, I kind of like that, but I like Exalted. Really feels like it's here's your framework, make your character how you want it, do whatever you want. Here's a sandbox.
That's pretty accurate.
So, speaking of system stuff, how did you guys enjoy the Exalted versus World of Darkness system? I know that you two specifically really engaged more with the combat mechanics than Britt and Tyler did. So I kind of wanted to kind of get your opinion on how that felt, because I know that the game kind of turned into a combat slog at the end, if I'm being completely honest.
Well, I weirdly didn't start out wanting my character to be like incredibly combative. I was trying to go for a mid-range level on that, where it's like, okay, I will be this kind of investigative, talky person for the group, and do some combat on the side because I figured Cody was going to be the main combatant and maybe Britt when she got in there. I wasn't really sure what Britt was going to do with her stuff. I know Tyler wasn't trying to do it. So I tried to find a good middle ground. There's definitely a lot you can work with as far as either side. When it came to flavoring for stunts and stuff, I felt a little limited. I don't know if that's just from my own imagination or via descriptions for the actual combat, but it felt like I was more or less just using the same charm for combat all the time. The big thing that I think was very jarring for me, because I have also played Exalted before I actually played Exalted versus World of Darkness, was the use of Essence and how very limiting that was. But I also played something different from pretty much most of the rest of the group too.
Yeah, like having played both, the essence management in Exalted versus the essence management in Exalted versus World of Darkness are like night and day. Which I get because plot reasons, you're supposed to be less powerful exalts. Like, your essence isn't as good as it was back in the before times.
Back in the day.
Yeah. The essence management definitely, I'd say, was the most difficult part about combat. Figuring which charms you can activate on which turn and how you want to prioritize them to either get your damage or your defense. Because I think by the end of it, I was up to, like, I had to take, like, 3 turns before I had all of my charms that I wanted to have ready to go.
Yeah, whereas in regular Exalted, you're just like, I'm just gonna blow my load. Yeah, I'm burning or, at Iconic, but hey, I got to do everything I wanted to real quick and just... Versus, oh man, I could only spend 2 essence this round. What am I gonna do? Oh man, maybe I should save an essence in case something tries to murder me and I need to, like, reflexively activate something.
Yeah. But outside of the combat system, like, Lenny did one thing good, and that was, 2 things. One thing was punch things, the other thing was choke them out. So, like, I didn't really interact with any of the other stuff too heavily. It was mostly just combative strength and athletics.
Yeah, I felt like that because that we everything kind of because that we had you playing the Big Dumb Dawn. Everything kind of turned into a nail because you were the hammer.
Oh yeah. Like it's definitely nothing against the system or story. That is 100% the character I decided to play. I'm just saying I don't have much input on the rest of the system because if I could punch it, I punched it out of my way.
I enjoyed the other stuff I had that wasn't combative because, like I said, I split between secrets and battles because I wanted to have, like, if we got in combat, I wanted to be competent and be able to hold my own because I was squishy. But I also wanted to be able to be productive and help the group outside of it, which came in really handy with, my spider, being able to pull names, especially early on. So that was all really neat to kind of work with. I don't know if it's just because I was Sidarial and I have wibbly wobbly time and fate DS that I can just snap my fingers and do stuff with. I'd have to talk to everybody else more about what existed in their stuff since, Abyssal and Solar had, I don't want to say more powerful stuff because I think my stuff is really neat and helpful and pretty strong in and of itself, just in a different way. I don't know. I don't know if I'm making a point or not anymore.
That's fine. So speaking of spiders that can just pull information out of nowhere, were there any plot points that you guys remember from the game that got kind of dropped? You guys wanted to kind of have a little bit of filled in stuff on? Basically saying, like, is there any are there any plot points we didn't actually get to touch back up on that you guys would like to know, like the behind the scenes stuff for it?
Did we ever? I know I have the whole sheet of notes, and maybe the answer's in there somewhere. Did we ever find out why or how the alchemicals knew about us or decided to hire us or anything like that?
You guys actually did not ever find out how or why that they decided to hire you. The short answer is we were having fun and I needed an NPC to come in and have an excuse for Benji and Jesse to exist without having to take them both through a 3-hour introduction.
Nah, Mr. Joe Toon is Exalted Santa Claus, and he knew we were all good kids, so he gave us a job.
The long answer of it, if that you had asked at any point why that he was doing this or anything, he was... Oh God, I'm trying to remember exactly what it said in my notes, but basically he had hacked into a technocracy server because by the lore in the Exalted versus World of Darkness companion, I might be getting this wrong. I'm actually kind of taking this all from like my I'm taking this all from memory right now, but basically from the Exalted versus World Darkness companion that has the alchemicals and everything in it. The reason that they exist is that they are from the Forge realm that mages in the technocracy deal with, called Autochthonia. You know, spoilers, alchemicals are from the alchemical world, but there is an Autochthonia in Mage. So they just use that one, and the technocracy is super into that. So they basically like hacked into the technocracy server. Lucky was already a technocrat by time that the Giovanni stuff was going on. So like they kind of had like an idea of where that you guys were. So that's why that like they kind of knew what you guys were up to.
Spying.
Pretty much, just, you know, the whole technocracy was weirdly wholesome in my game, which normally they shouldn't be, but I wanted to try and take a good take on it because I kind of don't... it's very weird, but like I know that the World of Darkness is supposed to be super dark and edgy and gritty, but I like to run in a game where that sometimes NPCs that are supposed to be the bad guys can be the good guys.
Like my rival.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to keep them relatable.
Man, I'm on a rival streak right now.
I'm very excited to introduce your rival in Like a Dragon Blooded.
Spoiler, I have a rival in Like a Dragon Blooded for anybody who didn't figure that out. Well, they wouldn't because they haven't been able to listen to it. Cody, if you didn't figure that out already, I have a rival.
So Cody, were there any plot points that you were curious about?
When did you decide that Terry was going to be a sidereal? I don't know if that's a plot point or a peek behind the curtain. I'm just curious.
Terry specifically says that he exalted as a sidereal during the museum heist.
Did he? I thought
he was hiding as one of the guards.
That sounds familiar. Because I feel like Casper
he exalted in a movie theater. That's why he called himself 007.
No, I said that he exalted around that time. Yeah. He exalted in a movie theater, but then he went, oh, let me go get a job because I need money to do this work.
Yeah. But was he always homeless, Terry?
Until he exalted in a movie theater, yeah.
Word. I think that's what it is my mental theater is picturing James Bond as like a young kid while it's picturing Terry as this gruff old homeless guy. So it's the mental connect isn't wanting to work.
I think that the reason for that is that Terry is a rough looking homeless guy, but like there are rough looking homeless guys who are like in their 20s because being homeless kind of ages you real rough. and then when he cleans up and becomes the sidereal special agent. He looks way younger because he is. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Magic.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the only plot point that I had a question about that I can think of off the top of my head.
Oh man, if I had my notes pulled up and just like perused it, I should have done that before we started this. I'm sure I could think of some more things that I would be like, Brendan, tell me the answer to this. What is the answer to the universe?
We all know that it's 42, but also one of the dropped plot points that I was a little upset that it got dropped, but like no, but the only person who really wanted to interact with it was interacting with the first beast. And I like to imagine, I thought that I had put that in the epilogue, but I apparently forgot. That giant seven-headed reptile thing basically becomes Cass's secretary.
Sweet. Best secretary.
I think that might have been another thing that I, thinking back on it, I didn't make super clear, is that that adventure in the Umbra, like, none of that was real, and it was all, like, mental shenanigans. Like, Cass did not actually meet, like, the maidens. It was just, like, shit just kind of playing with you.
I know you mentioned that to me. I don't know if you mentioned that on recording or you mentioned it to me, like, because we lived together and just in passing and stuff talking about the game, but I remember you telling at least me about it.
Yeah, like, I knew mine was just fucking with me, but I wasn't sure if Cass's was... I don't know how sidereals work. Sidereals are fucking weird, bro.
Just true facts.
Who knows where the maidens hold up their office? They probably got an office in the Umbra and could have just pulled a string. That's how sidereals work.
True facts about the sidereals.
But yeah, like, I like the first beast. You fucked up when you called it the first beast for good old boy Lenny. But I don't know, I feel like around the time it was introduced, we were sort of time crunching to get to the final showdown. If that makes sense. Like, if it popped up right now in our Like a Dragon Blooded campaign, it would probably get a little more interaction because we're not like... we don't have our blinders on looking for the final fight. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. We also kind of
Jumped the shark and never got to go back.
well, the museum heist was like a big shark jump. And then because we had such a long cooldown, I want to say we had like almost a month between the museum heist and the following episode. Because of that, I basically just started giving you guys like, well, I basically started going, oh, well, I have to be better than my last one. So we have to jump a further shark. And then we have to do an even bigger shark jump. And then we have to add sparklers onto the machine that's jumping the sharks. Like,
And then we got to drive a muscle car to the moon.
yeah, pretty much. And like, I think that it was fun, but like, if I could go back and redo that whole campaign with everyone, I would definitely have given things a lot more breathing room. And I definitely would have been like, I for real would have been like, yeah, no, we're coming down to hang out with Cody for the weekend. I'm not running game.
That's fair.
Yeah, I've talked with Brendan about it off recording regarding my feelings on kind of like jumping the shark with that situation where it went from, and it happens a lot in I think TV shows, oh, it's just normal school kids, they find out they're weird, everything like revolves around their actual lives and existing and figuring out how things work, to, oh my gosh, screw all this, it's literally save the world, school doesn't exist, nothing about any of this exists, it's just we have to save the world. So something I mentioned to him was I tried to remind, I suppose, the audience that there's still college kids with being at Lenny's house and Cass flipping through a book, kind of studying for the next semester and trying to just throw those little things in there.
Right.
I think that we managed to hit it home a little bit more, especially with the with the ending wrap up scenes where that you guys were all kind of that I kind of interspersed throughout the finale. I will say this. I was very proud of myself with where that I put Lenny's big touchdown game.
Oh man, I almost cried. That got me so good.
I have not listened to it yet.
It is literally like it gets interspersed right before Cody goes to give his description of blocking the Liberty not the fucking Liberty Bell, but the Statue of Liberty's torch. It's like you hear Cody go, "Yeah." Lenny says, "I got this, guys," and then I do the scene change music. And then you get this cool moment with Leonard, and then it changes back, and then it's Leonard's last hurrah.
The other funny thing I think I also mentioned to Brendan off recording was I thought about Cass sacrificing herself in a way to, oh man, shit's hitting the fan. Just pull that push that sidereal red switch and just give your life to rewind time a little bit to give people a chance. We're doing something ridiculous. Beat me to it, Cody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
You all right?
Yeah, you sound fine.
All right. I switched to my phone so I could go out and sit outside and enjoy the sunset weather since it's been unbearably hot today.
That's fair. Yeah, no, it fucking every one of you except for I think Britt was doing their best to try and sacrifice themselves.
We had to protect Britt most of the time in the last battle.
Yeah, everyone except for the one who was doing all the dying was trying to sacrifice themselves.
I honestly think I'd have to listen back, but I think all of us basically threw our freebie card at Britt for one reason or another, because most of us had defenses against something or rolled well enough to get away from stuff.
That is literally what happened.
Yeah, because you got your defenses plus your dynamic LARP get out of jail free cards. Me and Tyler both had the just nope charms.
Dude, my dynamic LARP, throw my personalities in front of the problem, was all from that dope-ass item that Brendan gave me.
I really enjoyed that ability. Like, that was a cool MacGuffin ability.
Yeah, the big thing was, don't tell them that you can do this until it happens. I was like, oh, I know. I have a perfect concept in mind for, like, when I first get to show this working.
Oh man, I bet Cody can't imagine what it's like to be like, hey, don't tell them that you have these charms on here.
Yeah, no, Christina saying that just now made me think of a question. Did you put a failsafe like that into everybody's item?
I did not. You were the only one who approached me about wanting to sacrifice their character.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't mean a sacrifice. I mean like this is your secret thing. Don't tell anybody until you do this really cool thing with your item.
No, it was just you two.
Dope.
Britt got really excited, and I believe she showed me her item or the name of it or something like that, because I knew a couple things she could do before she started using it. I think it was because the name for her item was a character I had played before.
I was very happy with that. I also did enjoy, there were a few moments where that I had dropped hints about things that you and Britt had gotten about how that I run World of Darkness games. Like, I think there was a moment where that I had mentioned Brightness Landing hotels, and the both of you just noped the fuck out of there.
It was great because a lot of the time Britt was in the room with me, or like we could have that moment of, fuck you, Brendan. We know what this is from. And it was so great to get to share that with somebody, because usually it's just me being like, fuck you, Brendan. I know what this is from. And she's like, I know this reference.
Yeah, it was very nice getting to hear Britt be excited about knowing a reference. It was very it was fun. So oh my god, I'm trying to think if there's any other questions I wanted to ask the both of you about your time with the game. Do you guys have any other questions, comments, or anything you guys want to, I guess, leave the listeners on?
I think the big thing is, I don't know if we tell you often enough that we really do appreciate you running for us, or at least I do. I'm just going to speak for everybody else and say that they do as well.
Yeah, what she said.
Oh, I really appreciate that, guys. I try to put a lot of work into these games so that everyone can enjoy them, but I know that sometimes I know that sometimes I can be a little bit demanding about like wanting to get stuff done.
And I mean, that makes sense. If you put a lot of time into something, you want to be able to do the content that you spent the time on. I feel that. I really do, especially since I started DMing and had never DM'd before. I understand it even more so now.
Yeah. Plus, like, this is your baby that we agreed to help you on. Like, you want to get it done and you want it to be good, and we want to do the best we can to help you do that. So a little nudge here and there of, hey guys, do better is normal in my book.
All right. Well, I mean, I appreciate that, guys. I guess everybody who's listening to this can look forward to Like a Dragon Blooded when it comes out. I think next in the schedule is going to be we're going to wrap up what we had recorded of Shadow of the Demon Lord, and maybe get a I don't want to say a real ending, but kind of figure out where that Tyler wanted to take the game. I think it would be the way that we could do it, since we're not going to be able to actually play that game again.
So my hope, I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it because he's been busy with everything. He did have a place he wanted to go with it. I was hoping I'd get to talk to him and kind of do something similar to this, to maybe if we can get everybody together for even just a little bit of time or interspersedly like we're doing right now, and kind of just talk to people about the game, and he can tell us where he was going with it. Because as I mentioned with you before, we've had a lot of campaigns where we've started and stopped. I'm currently dealing with that with my main D&D campaign, and I think having, even if you don't finish it, having something where it's like, this is where I wanted to go, this was my thought process, it adds that closure to the story for either our listeners or the people playing, the DM themselves, just, or all three and beyond. I think it's a good thing to do. So I'm going to try and see if we can do something like that for Shadow of a Demon Lord. But so far, I believe we'll have 3 more episodes of it before we're done with the content that we have recorded already.
Yep, and then after that, I'm either going to try and get a. So I've got like 3 games on my plate potentially right now, and I am trying to see if I can get permission to record one of them. I have another secret project that I am not allowed to speak of that will get recorded, and I'm not sure where that's going to get released. And then we also have Like a Dragon Blooded. So, like, worst case scenario, in like a month, Like a Dragon Blooded is going to start coming out.
Yeah, I will say, if you haven't already mentioned it to people, we as people have a lot going on currently. A lot of us are moving. Some of us are going back to school. We're trying to see people now that it's in a safer environment to see people, and try and bring some stuff back to our lives right now. So we are and moving. I don't know if I even mentioned moving. I think the majority of us are moving in some capacity, or adjusting to moving or something,
or helping their roommates move, or
But something I guess I can mention on here is if we can finish it up, we're intermittently between like a Dragon Blooded doing some offhand D&D crazy that will get released periodically, I guess, since we discussed some stuff. We're still getting stuff figured out with that. It's basically take the main world at the beginning of the campaign that maybe some people listen to or not, that I was running, and basically here's a side adventure for X amount of episodes. Will get released at some point if we get to finish it.
We'll get to finish it. Since it's all online, we'll definitely get to finish it.
Yeah, and I only have so many people in that one, so and online does make it a little bit easier.
Okay, yeah. That sounds good. Anything else you guys wanted to talk about before I shut off the recording?
Nah, I got one thing to talk about off the record, but nothing for recording other than if you haven't played Exalted versus World of Darkness and you enjoyed listening to us play Exalted versus World of Darkness, find a group of friends, get dumb, collect your stunt dice.
You can find it all online. That's how we did it. So it if it seems intimidating, take a read through, and just you're there to have fun. If you fuck up the rules, oh no, you fucked up the rules. Just
Yeah, it was probably one of the most easily digestible systems that I've read through the playbook. Like, everything's just there. Anything that's not in the rule book, it's just like, yeah, make it up, whatever.
yeah, like I don't even know if stunting was technically in there, was it? It's been a while.
It was actually in there. The basic rules for stunting is that if that you stunted, I could never raise the difficulty.
Ah, okay. I just couldn't remember. I know it's in regular Exalted.
I do prefer the regular Exalted way, but I can totally see how that me giving you guys 2 dice and an extra success just for describing it could skew dice numbers on an already small dice scale.
Oh yeah, definitely. I guess other than that, go Sharks.
Go Sharks.
Go Sharks. All right, we are recording.
Nice.
Oh man, you didn't say the fucking thing.
What's the thing?
Are you recording me?
Are you recording me, Brendan? It's just one time, one last chip, for old time's sake. We'll do it 5 times. It'll be great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Little peek behind the curtain there for like a Dragon Blooded when we get to that.
Yes. Audience, we have to record me every time because Brendan keeps deleting me.
I didn't delete you. I just put you on mute by accident for
A likely story.
For D&D, and then we might have lost the first half of the first session. I am not looking forward to recording that.
I wouldn't want to hear me talk either. It's okay.
Oh, okay. It's fine. I'm sure that everybody's looking forward to hearing you with a new mic. So anyway, Tyler, hello, welcome. I'm doing a little after game interview thing to figure out how the people felt about the game, if they had any questions or anything. So I'm going to start you off with the same question that I've started the other 3 off with, which is what got you into tabletop role playing?
What got me into tabletop role playing? I didn't like when I was a kid that I got told to stop daydreaming. So I found a way to do it in a productive manner.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
What was your first system then?
The first system, that's a toss-up. The first time that I think I really played a game was Shadowrun 2nd Edition. My buddy James ran it when I think I was 19 when we started. But the first system I ever played in, in earnest was actually a Pokemon tabletop when I was like 18. It was based off of D&D, and it was just corny, and we all had awful, like, blatant rip-off characters, and it was just goofy murder hobo nonsense. It was hilarious, but it was awful.
That actually sounds pretty rad.
It was very not rad. It was very corny. At the time, me and my friends were really big into like awful music memes, and I based my character off of Pitbull. Don't. I'm gonna leave it there. Let's just move on.
It's fine. You know, Brit started off with a Pathfinder hack to play How to Train Your Dragon game.
Okay, that makes me feel better. Someone can share in my embarrassment.
Exactly. So was this your playing Exalted vs. World Darkness? Was this your... I know this was your first time playing Exalted. Was this also your first time playing World of Darkness?
Absolutely.
I'm terrified that I've somehow done this.
You actually improved my view of the game a lot, because I didn't really know that there was so much more to it, because the only thing I knew about World of Darkness was like vampires. That was the popular media that I heard about for the game. And vampires aren't really my shtick, not really my aesthetic, not really my genre. So I didn't think too highly of the world, and you changed mine a little bit. So good on you.
I actually feel really good that I've done that then. And then this was also your first take on Exalted. So
yeah.
How did you feel, basically, I guess, running through the setting and smashing everything?
Running through the setting, not making medicine rolls. The power scale took me a little bit to get used to, I'm not going to lie, because it was very different from what I've been used to. You get a lot of power up front. But overall, I had a very genuinely amazing time with that system. And I felt very... the character I was playing helped me in a way that I didn't realize that I needed.
That's really good to hear. I'm glad that you had that experience then, bud.
It wasn't so much like... view behind the curtain here, listeners. I'm actually currently in nursing school in real life. And when we started playing this game, I was tossing the idea around. And even if it was like, but for a moment and not totally real, the concept of being someone who is dedicated to the care of others really helped me get that thought process and decision through my head to actually do it.
That is genuinely like that is probably one of the sweetest things that I have ever heard, and I am legitimately like I'm a little teary-eyed at the thought that, because not that I helped do this thing, not that I am the grand arbiter of fate, but that, you know, I could help
you enabled me to put on the training wheels of caring for people for a living. And I appreciate you doing that. It was a good thing for me. It helped me get my mind straight.
I'm really glad.
Me too.
So, it's the first time that you got to play in the system. I know that system, especially in combat, can get really crunchy. Do you have any, like, I guess... trying to think of a way to put this, like any things you would have done. Do you have any things you would have done differently if we could go back and play the game again?
You know, I genuinely was pretty on board with oh yeah, make my medicine rolls. Good point. I think no, I don't think I would have changed my character, my decision for a build at all. I think I would have, how to say, if I had the choice, I think I might have perhaps engaged with some content more. I was, especially early on, GMing was a new thing to me, and I probably held back a little bit. But I've kind of gotten through that. I think I certainly don't give much of a care about my current character or like a dragon blooded game.
Yeah, but I think that you've been playing a punk in that game really good justice.
Thank you.
I'm very excited for the Act 2 side quest turnaround when you guys properly taught those punks how to be punk.
Yeah.
So were there any like hanging plot threads that you remember that you maybe want some clarification on or anything, since I can kind of give that to you?
That's a thinker. Give me a moment to evaluate. That is one thing I will say that I would have wanted more of if I could make the choice. I would have wanted more harder decisions for my character personally. The idea of like moral confliction is kind of baked in to live as a character, and that's my only critique. Is I would have maybe liked a little bit more of that, but that's a small thing. In terms of plot points, I actually, as a proud yeehaw myself, would have liked to learn more about Lily's family. Actually, other than that, that's it.
Well, fun story. You can actually learn more about his canon family through just reading the book. The Van Zants are literally in the in the core rulebook for Exalted for Sword of Darkness.
Oh, well, there you go.
There is a specific reason why they were all dragon blooded, because they are an actual dragon blooded family that appears in the book.
Fair enough.
And they are all. I think that they're technically, by the book rules, supposed to only have one dragon's nest, which is in Tasmania, I believe. Which is, pretty close to Australia, which is why I gave them all horrible Australian accents that I'm now banned from the continent of Australia for.
I'm still waiting for the American heartland to ban you. I'm hopeful. And what would Liv's relationship with his family have been after the events of the Battle of Brooklyn?
Well, now there's a thinker.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it?
I want to say that after the Battle of Brooklyn, the relationship that Liv would have had with his family would have obviously been changed. There would be no hiding the supernatural at that point.
No.
I want to say that they would.
Part of me thinks that it would have almost been like an aha moment, like, yes, that's why our son is so weird now.
Yeah, I think that it would have been, but there definitely would have been a strained moment about it where that they were a little confused about some things, especially you being basically dead, and then having to go, wait a minute, you mean that big dumb idiot that you brought with you wasn't lying and that you actually did get shot? Oh, my sweet baby boy.
Yeah, there's probably a good bit of grief baked into that too. Like, no, the son that you had is never going to be back. That's not who I am anymore. He died, and I'm here now. So,
yeah, I feel like that there would be a lot of. I feel like that kind of like how that I hinted with the little epilogue that I gave to you, that there would be. That Liv became kind of a I don't want to say like a ghost counselor, but that's kind of how that I ghost doctor, but that's kind of how I saw him going in the end, is doing well for everyone, but only being able to do well for ghosts.
Yeah. But no, other than that, I don't think I have any errant thoughts. Do you have any questions for me about Liv that you wanted answered but never figured out?
Oh boy.
I didn't even think to ask him that when we were doing ours.
I think that one of the things that I was always really curious about with Liv is what was he going to do with that plague?
Take it to his grave. Because if if it escaped on his watch, at least he could blame himself and didn't have to rely on anybody else.
That's fair.
As a bit of a thought behind the process of how I made this character, I loosely baked in the idea of like, it's very common to like experience pretty traumatic events, or even like awful things happening in life, and you either like kind of fall apart or you dive into your work, and that's all that sustains you. And that trope was kind of baked into what Liv was. Well, here I am now. I'm in this awful situation, and I can't do what I wanted to spend my whole life doing. Liv wanted to be a doctor and help people for his entire life, and he couldn't do that in the traditional sense. So he had to dive headfirst into doing that in any way that he could. That's how he sustained himself mentally and physically, in my mind. Because that's like specifically anything medical. You don't. It's not a job. It's a personality. You're not a doctor or a nurse for a living. You are a doctor or you are a nurse. You just are. That's who you are. That never changes. Even with crazy supernatural circumstances, you just do what you can.
That's actually a really interesting insight into the character. I really appreciate you bringing that to the table.
Yeah, man.
I'm trying to think on if there's anything else that I needed to talk to you about besides that. I guess, I don't know. Like, we jumped the shark a lot in this game. What was your favorite?
We're getting into going in. You wanted to make a comic book, but in tabletop form, and you did.
Yeah. So then I'm gonna ask, what was your favorite shark jump?
Favorite shark jump. Oh man. Let me think. I think your worst shark jump was the technocracy thing with Lucky, that we were getting chased. I feel like that was pretty shark jumpy. My favorite, the Ninja Turtles.
Of course, it's gonna be the Ninja Turtles.
It's gotta be Cowabunga, dude. It's gotta be.
That wasn't even planned. It was just you said a thing, and I went,
and
"Oh no, I
took
have a
it
better
and ran
idea."
it downfield. You ran it downfield faster than Lenny could. No, that was hilarious. And also, you randomly indulged my Eye of Sauron idea for New York.
I enjoyed doing the Eye of Sauron thing. I thought that it was pretty rad. And then you also like you actually played like you actually played a pretty big part in that, since that you were kind of the point of contact with the comic book club.
Yeah. I would have liked to have interacted with them more too, now that you mention it. They were neat characters, and we kind of like never went back after the first time.
I would have liked to honestly, if I could go back and run the game again, I would give it like double the sessions, and that I could just slow it the fuck down and just pump the brakes and just let us enjoy the scenery and then see what you guys do. Because I think that we had a pretty good, I think we honestly had a pretty good pace going up until like the Giovanni stuff, and then Alumni Week hit, and then we had to do the museum heist because I wanted to run a game for everyone. and I kind of regret doing that because then I wanted to jump
nah.
sharks.
Nah. That was great.
Well, I guess that'll probably do it. I'll probably make this more of a constant thing as we produce more content and just kind of get to talk to people about things. Because I also like checking up with you guys to make sure that one, you guys are enjoying it, and two, kind of getting your personal thoughts on things.
Yeah, man.
Because just you telling me about the thing with Liv, like that really is like a big old eye opener for me.
Yeah.
I think that I mentioned it in like one of the other recordings. I think the one with Brit. But if anyone has any questions, they can send them into a pair of dice lost at gmail.com or do hit up the Facebook on a pair of dice lost podcasting or the Twitter at a pair of dice lost. If we get some questions in the backlog, I'd be happy to get the group on to like group answer questions. I think
Please ask us questions. Pick my brain. I'll tell you everything.
You heard the man. Pick his brain. He'll tell you everything. What are the nuclear launch codes, Tyler?
What do the numbers mean, Mason? But before we go, thank you for running for us, Brendan. And thank you guys, if you're listening to this, for listening to us. It's this is kind of my stress relief. Thank you for letting me do it.
Yeah, of course, man. It is honestly a pleasure to tell stories with you guys.
Agreed. The feeling is mutual.